Hello, so I'm going to be talking about the action inside of a piano, and for this I'm going to be using the a Kawai upright piano. Upright pianos are different from grand pianos as all of the action is laid out up like this. A grand piano will just be flipped sideways, and that's why it's much longer. So the action pretty much refers to all of the stuff inside of the piano here that actually makes the sound, or that actually, like the hammers and all of these levers in here that actually hit the strings. So they have all these strings laid out inside of the piano, and you'll notice that the strings will differ a little bit. So on the left, they have the longest strings, which are the lower notes, and they're more massive. They only have one string. And they make the lowest notes. Then there's like a little middle area here, which has two strings, and they're much less massive, and they're a little bit shorter. And then in the middle, for most of them, they will have three strings, and then they goes about three all the way to the top part, if you can see those. And they slowly get shorter and shorter the longer you go along the piano. So pretty much what happens here is the hammers, these little things are called the hammers, and they're covered in felt. What they do is they hit the strings, and the string will make a sound and will resonate at that sound. So pretty much what you have is every single time you hit the key, there's a little lever in there that will move the hammer up, and it'll hit the note. Now you'll notice that the hammer doesn't stay there, it bounces back a little bit and actually rests on this little green thing here. That allows you to be able to play the note many times really quickly. Also, we have these little mutes inside of here. So these little black things you'll see, whenever you press it, it'll back away from the note and allow the strings, or back away from the strings and allow the strings to like resonate. And the minute I let go of the key, it'll go back and it'll quiet it. This is so that you can play staccato and have very short sounds, or you can have very long sounds if you hold it out. So next thing I want to talk, and the mutes, they continue all the way to the bottom here, and they kind of change shape because they only have one string down here and two strings. But up at the top, they do not have any mutes because the sound dies out so quickly that it doesn't actually make that much difference if they do add the mutes. So the mutes start on like an E. Okay, so next thing I'm going to talk about is the pedals, and the pedals actually change a little bit depending on the piano. I've seen some pretty cool pianos that have crazy things happening, but usually what you'll have is the right pedal will be, for this piano at least, it's going to be a sustain pedal, which is different from a sostenuto pedal, and which I'll get into. The middle pedal, which for this piano is the mute, and then for the left, you're going to have the una corda. Usually the una corda and the sustain pedal are usually the left and right. The middle one changes a little bit. Sometimes they don't even have anything that happens with the middle pedal. Kind of weird, but so pretty much what the rightmost pedal, the sustain pedal, is going to do is you're going to press it, and it's going to release all of the mutes. And the way that what that does is that'll make all of the sounds on the piano last longer. So if I just play notes here, it'll die out really quick. But if I press down the pedal and play the notes, it'll ring out, and it'll actually have resonances go up and down. It'll resonate the other strings that it has, like partials. It'll resonate those partials a little bit too in the strings, which is kind of cool. The middle pedal for this one is the mute, and what that does is that'll make this bar move down, and it just moves this little felt in front of the hammer, in front of the action. And what will happen is when you play the strings, it will just mute it, which I imagine they do this at Heritage just because they don't want kids banging on the piano. And you can actually lock this one in place if you just move it a little bit to the left. And so you can just play the other pedals. You can play any of the pedals at the same time, which is kind of cool. The leftmost pedal, the una corda, what that one does is it moves all of the action. It's really hard to see, but it actually moves it so it's only playing one less string. So it actually makes it a little bit quieter, not as quiet as the mute, but also gives it the same tone as playing it without the mute. So what happens, this is the una corda, this is without the una corda. So without the una corda, with the una corda. It's really hard to tell. It does make it a little bit, I've noticed it actually makes it a little bit easier to play quiet. It just feels easier to, you can press down more on the keys here. That also changes a lot with pianos. The sostenuto pedal, which sometimes will be the middle one, that one, what you'll do is if you press down the pedal, all of the notes that are ringing out or resonating before you press down the pedal will stay resonating, but all the notes you play after, we will just play like normal notes. They'll play more staccato, which is really nice if you have a song that has to have low notes or has to have the low notes ring out, and then you can play top notes quicker. And usually you want more sustaining of the notes for late songs from later periods, like Baroque and classical. You're not going to want it as much, but maybe for impressionistic and romantic and contemporary, you might want it to last a long time, which is really, really cool. Now, the last thing I was going to talk about is different ways to make the sounds. You can change the tone color just by the way you press the key. So if I press the key really quick, it's going to be staccato, of course. If you hold down the sustain pedal, it's going to last longer. If you play the note slower, it's going to be quieter. If you play it fast and hard, it's going to be a lot louder. And that's really nice because it can change a lot. That's how you change dynamics. That's how you change a lot of things, a lot of articulation when you're playing piano. And yeah.